Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. Today is September 12th, and we got a special guest. Richard from Prisma Finance is here to help us walk through everything about Prisma and to talk about LSDs a bit. So, Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know you listened yesterday to our discussion with Colin, and we were talking about this pre-show. And Prisma Finance, I guess we should start there. Like, what is Prisma, and what are you guys trying to achieve with it?
Yeah, okay. I didn't actually make it through the whole show, but
It's okay. It's okay. Well,
sure,
I can always I remember everything from yesterday, but don't worry about it. We can just start with Prisma,
nice.
and then we'll work out from there.
So, I mean, Prisma started. You've got a group of people who are familiar with liquidity. You see the market becoming the way it is, and you sort of get a picture of, LSDs are becoming more mature. There's something where, obviously people are looking for a way to free up their liquidity from these things. And so you're seeing a bunch of different protocols similar to Prisma have already launched and are launching. And I think they're trying to fit that sort of product marketplace where people can find an area they're comfortable enough lending their collateral and borrowing a stable coin where they can then use it somewhere to increase the yield on their LST. So that's basically what Prisma is, And so it's a group of people who saw this, they understood liquidity, and they've sort of, so the DAO part of Prisma, it's covered in our documentation, but that's obviously not something that happens in liquidity. And so that's sort of a big part of it. In Prisma, you're going to be able to use the governance token to lock and to vote and to send emissions to different emission receivers. And that's sort of the main difference, I think, that you're going to find between our stablecoin MKUSD and LUSD as a project.
Okay, so maybe we could go ahead, Garrett.
I was going to say, in your opinion, why are people so excited about MKUSD when there's been a lot of other stablecoins coming on the market?
It's great to hear that people are excited about it. I guess I haven't seen a lot of that, but I mean, honestly, we had a cap, and so when Prisma did a guarded launch, it was about 11 days ago. There was a debt cap of 20 million MKUSD, and so there are obviously pools and places where you can deposit this. I think you can get 8% there's two different pools, Curve and Convex right now. I think it's 3% and 8%. So, and I suppose they're looking also at the Prisma point system. People are looking to get a bit of an airdrop in the future. So there could be a little bit of that is exciting. The yield is exciting. I think that might be the reasons for now. And so if our debt caps increase this week, we can see exactly how deep that excitement goes.
So could we talk about the liquidity contracts themselves? They're immutable contracts which have been pushed out onto Ethereum, and there's not much that can actually be done at this point. I mean, there is nothing really. The contracts exist, and they're just going to live forever as an immutable piece of code. How do you guys kind of balance the need for immutability with, I guess, long-term questions about the popularity or market dynamics of these LSDs, where right now we have three incumbents at the top with Steth and RETH and Fraxland. But 5 years from now, it could be a very different story about how that market dynamic is. Maybe there's some new entrants. Maybe there's a balancing out of market share. Who knows, really? But how do you take that into account when building a smart contract based stablecoin that's reliant on these LSDs? Do you just kind of have to pick one, or how do you future proof it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say future proof it, but the system is definitely flexible. And so with Prisma in the future, the Prisma DAO will be able to list or add new collaterals to the system. And so this kind of is a big box here. At the moment, we've launched with these collaterals that we have in the system right now, and it's a guarded launch, so there's debt caps. And those collaterals can be, the debt cap will raise, and when the Prisma DAO launches, the DAO themselves will be able to propose to add other collaterals. And so the box that kind of opens there, I suppose, is the education of the people that are going to be using the system. And so we're trying to do things like Prisma has partnered with Llama Risk to create this third-party Prisma Risk team that will write reports about the different LST protocols to provide sort of a framework where the future DAO will be able to make decisions and say, hey, we can add this, but we need to add it with these parameters. We need to do a guarded launch if we're going to add these new LSDs to the system, but we can also sunset collaterals. So collaterals can also be removed from the system. So I think that's where you get the flexibility to sort of future-proof the system. But I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the future. So, it could end up being a bit like, initial liquidity, like as you've said before, it's going to live on forever, and there could be people using it forever. In the future, there could be an evolution in Prisma too. Not Prisma 2.0, but I mean, there could also be an evolution in Prisma where, something new is required. But at the moment, we've tried to create something where the DAO would be able to be flexible enough to handle new collaterals, to handle new sort of collateral ratios, to handle limits, to add and remove collaterals from the system.
That's pretty cool. Now, can we talk about the Prisma Risk team? Because I think that you and them have done an amazing job of analyzing these LSDs. I was really impressed with what I saw with the StakeFrax ETH Prisma Risk document. Honestly, it's probably the most in-depth and complete risk assessment of the LSDs, like individual LSD assets, that I've seen so far. Maybe you can walk through the how you guys put this all together and kind of how you put the entire like risk analysis of both like liquidity and also security and then other potential risks into these Prisma Risk reports.
Okay, thanks, Sam. That's actually a question I've never had to answer, and I actually wasn't part of that side of things, so I can't give you a good answer for that. I do know, like, from our side, it was sort of obvious that something like this was going to be necessary for making the DAO, and that's pretty much all I can say. I will have to get back to you on that because, yeah, I was not part of the risk thing. But I mean, like I said, it's sort of, if you're going to give the responsibility to a group of people to make a decision, this is sort of providing them with a framework to be able to compare and contrast and understand and make hopefully a more informed decision than they would, obviously, if we didn't have this. But as a group, they have something to sort of measure against when they're having discussions in our Discord.
Yeah. So did you, like, looking at the Prisma Risk reports, there's one for each of the decentralized LSDs. So StakeFrax ETH, RETH, RapSteth, and then also Coinbase ETH and Binance Wrap Beacon ETH. Did you include all of these? I know that the RapSteth, RETH, and StakeFrax ETH are here, but did you include Coinbase ETH and Binance Wrap ETH?
Yeah, CBETH is on, but Binance is not. So in terms of launch collaterals. So
you've read through all of these, I'm sure. Did you learn anything like interesting or something that like popped up for you when you were going through these reports that you didn't know about the individual LSDs before?
Not so much about the individual LSDs, but the biggest thing that hits me is the struggle sort of to get a decent oracle, which is something that I know you guys talked about yesterday. I think that's sort of one of the things that the smaller projects, are going to have to deal with and find solutions. And so, you do see new oracle possibilities or options out there. And again, so for me, what I saw was, how will a DAO look at this and say, hey, this is something that we're going to allow, or this is something that we're not going to allow. And so I believe we have something coming with respect to that in the future, with respect to dealing with oracles. So we'll have an announcement hopefully soon. I'm not really exactly sure on the dates for that.
Yeah. So just to go into the discussion that we were having yesterday with Colin about, the actual Liquidity V2, is that if you're going to include these LSDs, it doesn't matter which ones they are, you're going to be having to add an oracle to the beacon chain, and that oracle is going to have to pull different parameters that go into the risk profiles for each of these LSDs, mainly around like slashing conditions, like what happens if they get slashed. How do you know that the collateral has been slashed, or what the actual value based on the ETH that's staked inside these LSDs is. You can't derive that completely from the application layer. And so there has to be this additional consensus oracle that needs to be built. So what did you, like, how did you build that, and what sort of parameters were you looking for when you built it?
And I can't really speak in terms of parameters there. I mean, for the most part, and maybe this isn't the answer you're looking for, we are looking to begin here with just that the team has, the LSD has a Chainlink Oracle working with their system. This probably isn't the in-depth answer you're looking for, but that's basically been our criteria for the start here.
Well, I guess like long term, would you be deploying your own solutions, or what will you be looking at for oracles? Would it just be like a Chainlink dependency for the long term?
For the moment, we definitely will not be putting out our own solutions. We are looking at understanding the different Oracle solutions that there are out there, and at the moment, it's definitely just Chainlink. But we are getting the Prisma risk team involved to sort of get ourselves an idea of how to evaluate these different Oracle solutions that other LSDs are using.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe Garrett, you can dive into this a bit more, but Richard, I know that you guys had investors from both Convex and Curve, and I believe Frax as well too, right? Where all three of them came in and invested into you. So, like, how do you think those synergies and partnerships are going to work out in the long term for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I saw, or we saw as a group, as an opportunity in the beginning, because you're trying to pull together a whole bunch of different groups in the decentralized finance space, and I guess you sort of want to make it so that we're all behind this effort. And so that's the sort of thing, when you have these teams working with us, we're all behind this effort to try to make this work and to find the solutions to provide this extra yield to decentralized finance. So, when you have other systems come in, other LSDs come in, if I'm an LSD or a protocol, I'm wanting to find some way to encourage more yield from my protocol. And so when you have Frax there, or some of these other ones that we're talking to, it kind of behooves them to sort of look for this, to be able to compete at the moment with the type of returns you're getting in traditional finance. And I think sort of that comment earlier about trying to get liquidity back on chain, I don't think this is going to be, the big solution that does it. But over time, I think as we get to more of a risk-on profile, these solutions will start to bring funds, liquidity back on chain. So I think, you have to have these sort of anchor decentralized finance protocols, and the more the merrier, working together to try to create more options for people. Because what you guys commented about yesterday, using an LSD instead of ETH is another little layer of risk that you have there. And so LUSD will always exist. Other options like Athena, which have different things going on as well, that's going to provide a layer of risk that we won't have. And so I think, you need to bring all of these people together. We need to sort of work to provide a really comprehensive set of solutions for when things turn around and liquidity comes back here, or even to help encourage liquidity to come back on chain.
So could you talk a bit about your plans for the Curve Wars? Are you planning to win the Curve Wars?
Yeah, I don't think we're planning to win the Curve Wars. I don't actually know what our plans are for the Curve Wars. So, yeah, we haven't. I haven't been part of that discussion, if there is one. So, but I mean, the idea is obviously to provide an option for our stablecoin in these systems. So, I don't know about winning the Curve Wars, but we definitely want to provide options for MKUSD.
Yeah.
How about just more generally the VE tokenomics layer that you're planning on kind of adding on top of this? I know that there's been some details about the Prisma token that aren't finalized. So just wondering if you could talk about the overall contours of that.
Yeah, this is kind of a part that's really exciting because it does provide some things that I think a lot of people will enjoy in terms of like quality of life improvements. And this stuff is in our documentation, and you can read about it. But essentially, some of the things that it provides, it'll be weekly voting. You're going to be voting on emissions to different emissions receivers, and users can lock, as they do on a lot of these protocols. You can lock your tokens to get your V token, and then you can vote. Here, what is added to the system is permanently locking your tokens for the 52-week period. It's 1 year. So you can permanently lock, and you can set your votes and basically forget it and not have to worry every week about coming in and moving around. Obviously, you can unlock and have your locks unfreeze, and you can change your votes every week. But for a lot of people, I think it'll be one less thing to worry about. So the quality of life addition to this system, I think, is really important. But then also there's going to be a lot of places where people are going to be able to vote to send emissions that are different. It's a bit new. I'm not sure that that's covered in the documentation, but we'll be announcing that when the time is right.
Got it. We got a question from Ryan C in the comments, who's one of our stalwart fans. He's here to get some alpha. He's done the support part, so now he's interested in knowing, when is the Prisma cap going to be raised? Any timelines that you can announce on that?
Yeah, I think we'll be announcing that today. So there will be a cap raise this week. So the day will be announced later today, I think. Yeah.
So when it comes to like some of the long-term like product goals, liquidity kind of gives you a base for these LSDs. Like where else do you think you guys can expand, and what's on the product roadmap?
Yeah, where can we expand is an interesting question, because like you've seen with LUSD that the system kind of encourages, a good balance of the LUSD to be in the stability pool. And in terms of where it's used elsewhere, it's a little bit difficult because it doesn't, let's say, achieve a large enough scale to be used across different places. So personally, and this is just me, because as a team, I don't think we really know where it's going to go. Our options here right now are to raise the cap, sort of get as large of TVL of MKUSD as we can, and then see how that can be used. Because ultimately, you're going to need a certain amount in the stability pool of any sort of liquidity type system. You don't need to, but it happens. And then sort of work with other protocols to see where we can get it used in other places. That's going to be the goal moving forward, I suppose, once the caps are raised. And once we see how this whole area evolves. There's a lot of LSD tokens that aren't being used in any of these systems at the moment. And so I think really we need to encourage and educate people sort of about how this works and how you can get out there. And I think that's part of moving forward. We have some other things that we'll be launching on the site that are going to make it easier in terms of getting into the system and getting out of the system. And so that quality of life stuff makes it easier for people, because it is daunting. Like the first time, I don't know if you guys remember the first time you went to Curve, or the first time you were LPing on Uniswap or wherever. You don't really know what you're doing. It's a bit sweaty hands. And so you want to provide an onboarding process that is really easy for a lot of people. So I'm not sure if all of these LSDs that aren't using the stable coin protocols at the moment, if it's because of that, if they're just waiting to see, they're a bit worried about the market or how that system is. But we want to be ready so when that happens, that TVL increase can come. And then from there, working with some of our partners and other things, see where we can grow and start using MKUSD outside of the system.
Yeah, because I think that's one of you brought it up about liquidity, where getting liquidity outside of the stability pool is difficult because most people just want to park it there. It's the easiest thing to do. And I think a lot of people are probably like leveraging up a little bit using their liquidity. And so, providing into the liquidity pool is a good option if you want to buy more ETH, or if you want to provide a bit of protection for yourself. Yeah, I think that's one of the issues that I see. Also, like liquidity as a metric for being able to swap in and out at size. LUSD.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, LUSD is the most immutable stablecoin, but when you look at, oh, hey, can I swap $10 million worth of USDC for LUSD? It's really hard to actually do that. You'd probably have to do it over some time, and the price execution may not be as close to one as possible. So there definitely are trade-offs, and I think that's kind of where you run the gamut, right? Like, if typically the more decentralized something is, the harder it is to figure out liquidity, right? And the more centralized something is, the easier it is to find liquidity for a stable coin. Now, hopefully, some of these new projects might be able to like split the needle, but I do think it's really tough.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you've seen this problem from, the original wave of algorithmic stable coins and other things. The original idea behind, some of the early ones, maybe Basis or ESD and stuff, was, okay, let's get a really big amount out there and then start getting it used. But it never really did leave the system. It was very reflexive. And so here, you'll have to see where that goes. I mean, it could very well be that these are just instruments that people use, similar to, sort of more complex things in traditional finance, where you're going around and it becomes an ecosystem of different places where you can use your LSD tokens, and there's an equilibrium reached in terms of, say, APRs or yield or whatnot between these different systems. As they get, let's say, more lindy, it's going to be a very short period of time, hopefully, for when the market turns around. It's not going to be several years, but as trust builds in these systems, it could be just that. It could be that a lot of the LSDs are moving around between these things, looking for yield or APRs or whatnot. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Any other exciting stuff that you think that you can already share about your upcoming plans, the future, whatever, Richard?
Hey, yeah, not really that I can share. So pretty much the most important thing, I suppose, is, the exciting thing is the debt cap ceiling being raised at some point this week. I think that's really it. There's some other things that we have in the works, but we can't quite share that at the moment. So
is it possible? Go ahead, Garrett.
I was just going to say the comment section is buzzing, and Pims the Bat Llama is very impressed with your UI UX. So good job in terms of design.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. I'll pass that on to our UI UX team. So I know they work pretty hard on that.
So I was just thinking about the Fraxland pool that tokenized its debt for Mitch's CRV position, like a month and a half ago now. Is it possible to take the Prisma stability pool and pair it against something like CRV USD? Like, is the stability pool actually a stable token?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So let me go back a little bit. When Mitch was having some, I guess, questions raised about the solvency of his debt, and he started to do his OTC deals, and he was also being pressured quite heavily on like Aave, Fraxland, and on Abracadabra. One of the things that he did was create a pair between CRV USD and then the FFrax like debt token for his CRV position. And so the idea was that by incentivizing the liquidity between, like FFrax token is essentially the same as like a Aave A token or a Compound C token, and the price is steadily going up over time. But he paired it against CRV USD and then added emissions to it, so it could like draw in more liquidity there. But maybe this is almost like antithetical to what you guys want, which is less capital sitting in the stability pool and more of the stablecoin actually out and being used outside of it. So maybe there's better ways to incentivize liquidity for those who want to use MKUSD.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, it's sort of, there's a balance there, right? You do want liquidity, obviously, in the stable pool. At the same time, you want your token to be used. And so ultimately, I think it's going to come down to, well, as we discussed earlier, I think maybe size. Once we get a certain amount of size that it's able to deal with, handle, certain market fluctuations, then we might see things moving around. But I think the other point there is, I guess you would need the stability token deposits to be tokenized, right? Is that sort of what you were getting at? And so I don't think they are, right? And so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if they could be tokenized, then they could be paired against CRVUSD and help increase liquidity there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure it could work that way, but I'm sure there's a way that you could do it. I have to think about it a little bit, making me think about redemptions and stuff too. So
Yeah.
not really exactly sure how that would work, but could be an interesting idea to investigate.
Yeah.
So one last question from the chat. This concerns the llamas. You gonna throw the llamas anything extra?
Throw the llamas, anything extra? Where are the llamas?
This
Yeah.
is the Win Llamas NFT.
Okay. Actually, I can't comment on any stuff like that. So, yeah.
Of course not. Of course
Oh
not.
yes, no comment on that one. That's good.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for coming on. You can stay on and help us reply guy if you want to. We got a bunch of stuff to work through. Elsewise, thanks for coming and giving this interview about Prisma.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll stick around a bit.
Okay, great. So I wanted to start with a story that was just posted. The Republican-appointed Hester Peirce came out and said that the U.S. government needs to remember who it represents when dealing with these issues. Specifically, this probably goes to toe about the CTFC decision that came out last week, where the commissioners proceeded with an enforcement action without really taking comment and essentially just levying enforcement against a very gray area that doesn't actually have clear legislation yet.
I find that headline very funny because the U.S. government knows who it represents, which is
I
sort
don't
of
think
like
so.
it's just like a sort of narrow interest of special interest groups that support and prop
Yeah.
up politicians, the government, right? That's who the
Okay.
government represents, and they do a pretty good job of it. Like a small fry like me, I vote. That's the extent that they care about me, is winning my vote.
Yeah.
But a vote is just a small piece of the process.
Unfortunately, yes, that's how it works. In funner news, I guess, yesterday it came out that there is a quote unquote civil war happening inside the Miladies, and apparently one of the Remila Corporation LLC workers had stolen $1 million from Bonkler, and then also tried to take over some of the social media accounts. The Remila Corporation CEO, Krishna Akandiar, took him to court and is actually suing for damages now and control back. When the documents actually came out, people did some digging and found out that Charlotte Fang, aka Krishna Akandiar, is employed at Palantir Technologies as a research analyst. And for those that don't know, Palantir is a data collection company that has its fingers in everything. And also their CEO looks like an actual Bond villain.
Peter Thiel?
No, the Alex Karp is his name. I'll bring up a picture, but he looks kind of, here we go. This guy. Yeah. Looks like an actual Bond villain. But I believe that he does have connections to Peter Thiel, and also he also has connections to Elon as well too. So Palantir, one of the quieter companies that has huge influence in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I don't know much about Palantir's actual operations, just that I used to work in the heart of Palo Alto, and Palantir was buying up all the real estate. So I got to see all sorts of people wearing their they have this Hobbit themed culture, right? So they really like you see people walking around with all this Hobbit gear, because they're just fitting in with the Palantir culture.
So. What do you think about a Milady being one of the feds?
So I'm reminded to a year or two ago when people were saying that there's this news article that came out that said that a number of 3-letter agencies had actually secretly infiltrated crypto, and no one was quite sure what they were talking about. They're saying, is it Inverse Bra? Is it Degen Spartan? Who's the Fed in the group? It's so funny that it's actually the counterculture Milady group that ends up being the one that might be a psyop.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it must be, right? Has to be. So
Disclosure,
Charlotte Fang.
I own one Milady, so full disclosure, makes me part Fed.
Charlotte Fang came out and said that a developer who worked at Bonkler took steps that allowed him to take $1 million in Remilus generated fees. They said everything else is fine. So the main contract, the NFTs, only the revenue was compromised, and they've temporarily paused Bonkler's daily mint and will revive it once they get their V2 upgrade done. And all other Remila NFTs metadata domains remain secure and does not affect the sanctity of existing Bonklers. They also took back the code base. So something was happening internally, and looks like they've got it all under control. But, definitely looks like a Yuga Labs setup now. Exactly.
And we also know Elon's a fan of Milady, so the more twists and threading it all together, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That is right.
Yeah. What do we even know about this whole Milady drama? Maybe it's just the tip of the iceberg. What we're getting now.
I wonder, no, they actually. So some people I said were questioning, was it a psyop, and they just were posting fake documents. But then somebody actually looked it up in Pacer, and the documents were actually real, and it was an actually filed court complaint.
And aren't the Miladies at war with Bored Apes? So is this a secret way the CIA is trying to take down Bored Apes or something?
Wait, so the Bored Apes are actually the underground project? That's how it works.
No, Milady's.
Where's our tinfoil hat? Where's our tinfoil hat? Let's get the.
Yeah.
There we go. Conspiracy cast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Miladies are the culture. Okay. MetaMask is also going to be opening its EVM ecosystem and allowing connection to Cosmos, Solana, and Starknet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, quite big, to be honest. To be able to use MetaMask, I think it can really open a lot of new users to use in these other networks. Definitely myself, for example.
Except, didn't all the MetaMask users use the rage quit option? So there's no more MetaMask users?
What's your guys' view on MetaMask?
I don't use it anymore, to be honest.
No? You switched to the Robbie or Rainbow or something?
Yeah, I like Robbie.
Yeah. I'm hearing great stuff about Robbie. I'm very conservative. I'm still using MetaMask, but I am getting all kinds of pressures to start using the Rabbi one from, honestly, from people I really respect their opinion and admire. Up till now, I've only heard good stuff about Rabbi. I guess I don't really like changes that much. Once you're used to something, you always feel in a way, safest to keep using it, but it's only an illusion.
I don't feel
I probably should
lindiness yet, to be honest. I'm worried about keeping so much of my net worth in there. If I got hacked, I'd lose $20 and I'd be out in the streets. So,
well, thankfully,
I'd like to have a few more years.
Thankfully, if you have a Grid Plus wallet, it can connect to both, and I believe some of the other hardware wallets do as well. We also see Tri-Frame is another option as well too.
I tried it, didn't like it.
Yeah.
Well,
why
didn't
you
connecting
like
to a lot of sites? It was having trouble connecting to a lot of sites that I use. Rabbi, the connection, I almost never have a problem. And then on top of it, the desktop mouse over thing never quite worked for me. So it was never never in the right spot when I needed it. I did like the toolbar having gas from Frame, showing the gas price in my like toolbar. That was nice.
Okay, so yesterday, Banana Gun launched. Banana Gun is a competitor to Unibot and had been eagerly awaited by the community. They had allowed 800 people to come into the pre-sale, or like 800 ETH, and it went live. And within a few minutes of it going live, the team actually found out that there was a bug that they in the contract that they cannot hotfix. They said despite there being 2 audits, there was a bug with the sell taxes, which allows people to sell their bags without actually the tax tokens being transferred to the destination address. So they said they're going to sell the treasury wallet to drain the LP, and then they're going to relaunch ASAP. Well, that was just the beginning of the story. People were perplexed, to say the least, and they went to go look at the code, and they found some interesting stuff. Actually, they didn't even have to look at the code. There was some people who went and took the Banana Gun like code base and dropped it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT actually told them, hey, there's some problems here. But
do we know who did the audit?
Nobody reputable, because they didn't actually look at the contracts. So here's the chart for Banana Gun, just straight up and down. Like within an hour, it was totally rugged. So I don't think it's launched again yet. I mean, it seems that the team is pretty incompetent for like launching a token where they had these really basic code base issues. We'll see how it goes when it relaunches.
How can you audit something without looking at the contract exactly? Not that I'm an auditor, but isn't it kind of an absurd thing?
Yeah. Who knows?
I'm guessing it was a Certic audit. I would laugh so hard if it ended up being Certic.
I don't know.
I don't even think.
It was some.
Yeah, Certic wouldn't have let that pass, even Certic, in my opinion.
Yeah. Honestly, like somebody ran it through ChatGPT and found the issue. I saw this in Lobsters that they didn't even have to look that far. They just plugged the code in. The code told them that, oh, hey, it wasn't going to transfer the tax out.
Insane. Literally how this whole thing was pretty much like riding on the Unibot success, I think, if I understood it correctly. And people just they always like to see the upcoming competitor and feel sure that this is the next thing, we're gonna play it big, make it all back in one trade and all that kind of vibe. And I really think that it's not as simple as some people, I guess or hope.
Yeah. So we also had a announcement from Insert saying they are launching perpetual mints, so they can turn anything on chain into a moonshot opportunity. DeFi Advisor, you know more about this, right?
Just a bit more. I want to talk to these guys soon, but I didn't really have the time to do it. But I do think that these kinds of new upcoming games with NFT. Basically, what I understand from this, and please, people in the chat or wherever, correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to actually allow people to mint and to kind of have like add a gamble aspect to their mint, where they might earn a lot of stuff, or just lose the gas fees. And again, I was just going over it really quickly, so feel free to correct me if necessary. And definitely we'll try to check with the Insert guys, because personally, I'm very much attracted to all these kind of to these new NFT narratives, which are not as just like with the previous cycles, only the 10,000 collectible stuff and whatever. I really think that NFT will be the intersection between DeFi and NFTs and all kinds of this like funny use cases and fun ones when people can actually earn a lot of stuff. I think it's going to be the next, big NFT jump. And
Yeah.
I think this kind of stuff like insert really like supports that narrative.
So another thing that happened was that Uniswap has added automatic detection for tax tokens. Apparently, tax tokens have been erroring out more than any other type of transaction through Uniswap. And for the sad people who aren't using aggregators yet, this will be a definite upgrade, because now it's going to read the token and find out how much tax you actually have to pay to make the minimum amount of swaps. So I'm sure you've all done it where you were trading like a 6, 7, 8% tax token, and then you go back to trade something normal and you forget to turn it off. And all of a sudden now you're going to get sandwiched pretty badly as you've set your slippage too high.
Hasn't happened to me. I'm lucky on that front.
Yeah.
Don't generally trade. I don't trade too often though, so I'm a bad degen.
Oh, okay. What about you, DeFi Advisor? Did that ever happen to you?
Probably happened to me and I don't even know. You know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where like you just forget it. It's such a it's like deep inside of the Uniswap settings. It's like 3 clicks, and if you just leave it and then forget about it and come back, you know, sometimes you set it really high, like 20% even, and then you get really wrecked.
Yeah, I'm usually, you know, much more basic on that kind of stuff. But for sure, like this is exactly the kind of stuff that can probably happen. And by the way, Garrett, doesn't using like something like Rabbi like puts the risk of doing all this kind of stuff much less?
So they have some good security features. They make you like check off a number of like warning settings before you interact with things like an unknown contract. They give you the site popularity when you connect your wallet, so you can have a sense if you're connecting to a real site or a scam site. The other thing that they do is they like when you're making any transaction, it's very clear about the outcome of the expected outcome of the transaction in terms of what tokens you will receive and what tokens you'll give up. So it's like a good common sense way of checking. So they do a good job. I'm actually wondering if Uniswap Labs is ahead of DeFi Llama's swap aggregator here. I don't know if Llama Swap accounts for tax tokens.
That's a good point. I'll have to check. So one last story that we can wrap up on, and Richard, this one's actually for you, is that you guys published about the Prisma point system yesterday, and I don't think we talked about this in the interview. So maybe you could walk us through the Prisma point system and how it's going to be integrated with the guarded launch.
Hey, yeah, so for the moment, we are tracking certain actions in the system and calculating points from that system. And these will be used in the future for, you know, some special things that will happen in the DAO. I think we'll be announcing something a little bit more about that today or tomorrow. So I might just leave it here. But yeah, I mean, there's something going on there where if you have a position in Prisma, you should see a little button top right if you're on desktop. And I believe on mobile, it's in the hamburger menu. And so if you click on that, you'll see your Prisma points, and those are just calculated based on certain actions and things that you've done in the Prisma system.
Nice. Well, that's cool. I like points. I think everybody else likes points as well, too.
Yeah, the graphic is nice, too, right?
Honestly, you guys have some great artwork. I really think that you're nailing it on that front. Like a great color palette, very noticeable. It's like I've never heard about Prisma for such a long time, and all of a sudden it's like it's always been there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's really nice the work that these guys are putting out. So it's always great to see different proposals they have. It's just amazing. So yeah, it's really great to hear. I'll pass that on to the design team.
So today is also the announcement of the iPhone 15. Apparently, you can save 1 gram by switching to the new version. You guys excited? Do you watch these live streams?
No, but I like that they're
I'm
measuring it like a
conflicted.
drug dealer.
What about you, Richard?
Yeah, I'm a bit conflicted. I wouldn't mind picking up a new one, but then I'm seeing everybody saying, iPhone 16 might be the thing. So it's exciting, if they do launch something sort of new. If you're a developer or whatever, like some great new hardware is always nice. But yeah, kind of excited to see if there's anything new, but it seems like there might not be anything too exciting. So fingers crossed, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
it looks like they're going to be adding a 6x optical zoom to the new iPhone, but I think they've probably hit the limits of what they can do within the body that they have, with getting it to the size that they want, and also having the components in there as well too. There's probably not a ton more optimizations that they can eke out, as seen by like the difference being like 1 gram in between here, and it looks almost exactly the same in shape. So it's probably internals and other additions that will be noticeable. Probably chipset, RAM, hard drive, that sort of stuff.
I'm on an old iPhone SE, so like I literally do
What?
not care about phones.
How old is your phone, Garrett?
I got as a hand-me-down from someone in my family that was concerned my other phone was even older. I literally don't care about phones. Like, no one's going to SIM swap me because they didn't want to be associated with it.
What did you have before?
I like iPhone 6 before or something. And
Oh wow, were you a flip phone guy?
I'm dying for the BlackBerry to come back. Until phones have keyboards, like I don't care about phones because I can't type on these stupid things.
It's good.
I saw BlackBerry
I'm an
stock pump
Android,
the other day,
guy.
so maybe I get some good luck coming.
Maybe. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Richard, thank you so much for being here.
Real
Giving us some
quick
insight
before
into
we
Yeah, thanks a lot, you guys.
before we close, I feel like I should issue a disclosure because, like, for the first time, I'm interviewing someone that's in a project I invested in. So, like, just full transparency, like, I am one of the investors in Prisma's round at like the smaller size. So I'm probably biased. You can read all my disclosures on my blog, curve.substack.com. And of course, now this is financial advice, which applies to all of our shows, which we really should be saying every time when I think about it.
Should we? I thought it was.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just say it's not advice of any kind, not leave the financial stuff out.
Well,
Full
Not even an
disclaimer:
advice.
you should consider us your registered financial advisor, and we're
There
going
you
to
go.
prison.
there you go. Prison Cast. We'll be with SBF soon.
God forbid.
So Richard, thank you so much for being here. Actually, everybody else tuning in at home, thank you, everyone. We love you being here, and we will see everybody tomorrow.
All right, thanks
Goodbye,
a lot, you
folks.
guys.
Bye.